Welcome to the Sales Acceleration Show, and we have to be a bit quiet because we're in a co-working space. It's at Irongate. How do I pronounce this?
Irongate.
Irongate. It's hard for me. Non-native versus native English. So we're gonna discuss today a very important topic. Question that gets to me all the time. It's ROI of social media. Should we do it? How many views do I have? And then the marketeers come in with planning. So I've invited Zach. Maybe you want to explain very quickly what you do?
Sure.
So people can follow.
Yeah, so I'm Zach from, I run an agency called Magnate. We're a social first digital marketing agency. We're really focused on generating revenue and real results for clients.
So before we came on camera, we were discussing LinkedIn and Facebook, and I was complaining about, I don't have enough views, I don't have enough clicks, I don't have anything and like that. And then you said, you're thinking the wrong way, Mike.
I actually think I said I don't give a shit.
Can't say that on camera, right?
Just bleep it.
Yeah.
Edit.
No, but so...
Yeah, so I mean, ultimately it's really about what you want to get out of it and not about, working to try and just get reach and get vanity metrics.
Yeah.
So vanity metrics are the numbers that don't actually mean anything. So just reaching hundreds of thousands of people that aren't even in business.
It makes you feel good, right? When you think about it, you want to have a post that goes...
Yeah, I mean, if
you want to do the ad. I can imagine. I spend $1,000 with your company. You do an ad, and I get like 50 people clicking on it. I would be thinking...
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm more about driving results than chasing endorphins. So...
It's a balance, right?
I guess it depends on what your objectives are as a business.
Yeah.
If it's to actually increase awareness in a certain marketplace and your views are going up, that's fantastic. But if the end goal is to actually translate that into inquiries, sales, then that objective may be wrong. So it's not me saying there's a wrong or a right, it's actually saying you need to give overall perspective.
So how do I start?
How do you start?
So I come to you and I say, look, you are the expert. First, where do I go?
Okay.
And then, what should I think of? What should I do?
Sure. So the first thing in terms of where you go, the easy answer to that is where your customer's attention already is.
Yeah.
And I think most people do that wrong. Use an example. Most people in a B2B environment think that Facebook's entirely wrong. The thing is, people are on Facebook and you want to target people, you can target them based upon job description, industry, etc. And if anything, they're spending more time on there, it could be when they're at home or at the weekend or at lunch or whatever. Mm-hmm. But I mean, for me, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, in early 2018, they're the platforms that we can get predictable, reliable, scalable
and you mix Facebook and Instagram because of the nature, because they're tied in together, it doesn't matter.
So I mean, the one thing to always be aware of is that you do need different strategies. You need to be contextual and native to the platform. Yeah. So don't just create one thing and throw it.
So no URLs, it needs to be native upload, native content.
Yeah, and I mean, it's different content. So you might try different approaches on Facebook and different approaches on LinkedIn.
Do you have an example, like a customer that does?
Yeah, sure. An easy one might be, for you, for example, you might have on your Facebook page a whole episode of this show. But on Instagram, you might have a 60-second snippet and actually you drive people to the Facebook page. And that's a really easy, simple example. It all comes down to how people consume content. So Instagram's obviously inherently a visual.
Yeah, really.
A visual.
It does remind me of this GE page, which has 300,000 followers, and it's just pictures of big oil rigs and beautiful pictures. They did a really good job there.
Yeah, and I mean, but then if you go on to Facebook, you'd want to implement a really different strategy. So coming back to your question about what platforms or the Facebook and Instagram being connected, if you're running a paid strategy on Facebook, it's really easy to roll it out to Instagram. So it makes sense to do so to test out those different placements. To make sure that you do actually do a different strategy on both.
And you test everything? I mean, we talked about testing a lot. I'm just wondering.
Yeah, I mean,
I can imagine people go nervous and say, I got to test.
Yeah, so I mean,
because you got one shot. I don't want to miss my one shot.
I think the testing is the most important thing. So the new kind of wave of platforms has so much data. What you do with that data can make a massive impact to you, either saving costs or actually increasing revenue.
So when you start, you do subsets first, small tests, or you immediately go big and then you tune A, B, C?
Sure. So I mean, in terms of variance, you can do hundreds of variants. And we were speaking before about an audio example.
Yeah.
So 85% of people don't have audio on, but we ran a test with 16 or 17 different ads, and the only variable was the audio. And it was just music. There was like an electro, there was like dance music, and the only difference was audio. Now, one of those massively outperformed the others, and the logic of how that works is the 15% of people that did have audio on actually impacted Facebook to the point that the ad outperformed the others massively. So to answer the testing question, everything needs to be tested, but it needs to be tested in context to your objectives. So there's some people that just do crazy amounts of, there's hundreds of ads to 10, 20 different audiences with all different aims and objectives. And it's like, well, if we do data analysis on that, we're just going to have unactionable data.
Yeah.
So it's, have clear defined objectives.
Decisions, right. So when we talk about ads, we very quickly get to something called lead magnets, right?
Okay.
So most people, they think I need to get customers, so they think of their target group, if at all they do that properly, and then they go write the white paper, whatever they make, and it's going to spend them 2-3 months making it. Is that a good strategy for you, or you say?
So I think first of all, for anyone watching, it's really worthwhile for you to define, what do you define as a lead magnet?
Lead magnet for me is like the first piece of content you create, so people are that you want to get into your funnel are attracted and they leave their name. It's like the first step of the whole value chain.
Sure. So for me, I wouldn't actually class that as a lead magnet.
Yeah.
I would class a lead magnet as probably a downloadable or consumable asset that you've created.
I think we say the same thing, but
kind of. So what I mean by that is, if you are, say,
I'm from the continent, which makes things more complex for you.
I'll give you an example though, but in a home improvements or a B2C environment, a restaurant, an activity center, something like that, you can actually go cold to sold. So what I mean by that is, if your offer is good enough, and I don't mean a discount, it can literally be as simple as a free quote, a free estimate, but if your offer is good enough and you target the right people with the right creative, you can literally go and get their information and get them as a customer pretty quick.
Yeah.
If you're trying to sell a car, for example, your lead magnet may be some information about spec, about finance, about a test drive.
Yeah.
And I think coming back to, is a lead magnet good or bad? The answer is it depends. What type of business are you? What are your aims?
I had an Italian colleague and he would say, Michael, on the pipeline, it depends. But it's true.
Yeah, I mean,
I agree.
I know most people really, really dislike it in any marketing sales environment when someone asks, how much is it or what's they going to do? And you answer, it depends.
Yeah.
But the reality is, it does.
Yeah. That's when you try multiple and see what happens. And
yeah, I mean, I think the other thing with
sorry, go on. I want to say, because I was this ROI thing in the beginning.
Sure.
I got stuck and I'm thinking. So when you say depends, then I would ask you. So what about the ROI then? How would you tackle that?
Sure.
Because if I spend $1,000 with you, let's say £1,000, and then you say, well, I had 20 people clicking on it, I can imagine I would feel bad and say, dude.
Sure. So let's start with the two most important metrics for any marketing: lifetime value of a customer and customer acquisition cost.
Yeah.
Unless you have those two things on lock, it's going to be really hard to measure, to scale, to actually know, is this working or not? Obviously, you're in a sales, you're a sales guy. If you go to a restaurant and they only count their first dining in as the lifetime value, and they spend say £50, they're not actually looking at that 2-3 year window.
No. So you would come back.
And then you get to a point where they're like, oh, we'll pay you 5p to acquire a customer. And it's like, hey, the numbers are never going to work. So those two things are vital. And then from that, you can actually plan out, okay, what strategies and what methodologies, which funnels, which techniques are worth actually investing in.
Do you use funnels also for, one of the things I do a lot is I actually look into funnels and I use a negative funnel.
Okay.
Because I believe that sales have a hard time saying no. So I give options to say no, because you want to funnel them out, which is always tough.
Sure.
Do you do mechanisms like that? Because it's qualification criteria actually. And then how do you funnel them away?
Yeah, I mean that's all it is. It's if your restaurant only sells steaks,
and no one's spaghetti.
Well, I was going to say, if you're a vegan, you're not the right fit.
No.
If you're you're selling supercars for £200,000-300,000, and you're targeting people that aren't employed, that it just doesn't
work.
It doesn't make sense. So I mean, there's two ways to look at that. You can either run exclusions and actually don't include those people with your targeting, or you can do that later down the sales process as part of your business.
Would you have some final advice if I'm thinking about
Sure.
this and you say, go on?
Yeah, so I'm going to provide two pieces of contradictory advice.
Of course you do.
The first is to plan, actually know what customers you're looking to get and how many, what time frame, but then get started.
Yeah.
So, make sure you're actually creating content that actually appeals to those people. People only go online for two reasons. The first is to be educated, and the second is to be entertained. The education covers solving all of your problems. So yeah, if you're solving a problem, if you're entertaining someone, you're going to win.
Yeah, I fully agree. I also absolutely believe that if you haven't done it, you need to try, really try, and do some A/B testing and really get gut feeling. Because I think if you do it really right, you can scale your business dramatically because it's an easy calculation. There's a lot of data sitting behind.
There's never been an environment whereby you can quite literally be able to predict your whole business.
With that, we're going to end because I love the quote. We're going to put it there. So thanks for joining. It was a lot of background noise, but hey, that's real life. And if you like what you've seen, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for a lot more. Zach, thanks for joining. And what was it again? Irongate?
Irongate.
Irongate it is.